Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video we're going to do a post-test interview with Pippa, who's just taken her ADI Part 3 test, and guess what? She passed, first time too. Okay, so if you're a PDI and you're about to take your Part 3, or maybe you've already taken one and didn't get the result you wanted, then keep watching because this video is for you. Pippa's going to share with you her journey from what made her want to become a driving instructor all the way through her training and how the test itself actually went and what the examiner said and what kind of feedback she got. If you would like some help with the Part 3 course, then do what Pippa did. Get my online training course. You can study from home and this will help you prepare for your in-car training. You'll have lifetime unlimited access and you'll get a certificate of completion when you complete it. It takes about 30 to 40 hours and it covers all the main skills of becoming a driving instructor, followed by all the subjects that you'll be teaching and delivering. If you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the description so you can check that out, and there's a free sample course in there as well, just so you can see what you think. So without further ado, let's go on and watch the interview. If you like the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe for future content, and please leave any comments about the sort of things you'd like me to cover in the future. Thanks for watching. Welcome, Pippa.
Hello.
Thank you for agreeing to do this little interview. You've just taken a Part 3 test. It was your first attempt.
It was, yes.
Please share. How did it go?
Yes, I have passed. Got my green badge.
Oh, you've got that.
Thankfully.
Brilliant. Good. Did that take long to come through?
Actually, yeah, take nearly 2 weeks.
Good, because it was about 2 weeks ago when we when you
Yeah,
did it.
Yeah, it was 2.5 weeks ago. Yeah, and then so I passed on the Thursday, paid and applied for it on the Saturday, and then it arrived Friday, 2 weeks later.
Perfect. Excellent. So I'm just going to sort of, people watching this are in the same, they are in the same boat as you were. So they're PDIs, and a lot of them will be struggling. Maybe they've taken an attempt and they just think, oh, how do I do this? So if we could, I'll ask you some questions, sort of find out a little bit about your journey to become, to pass, and how the training went. And then, of course, we'll find out a little bit about the test day and how that all went. And yeah, if you can give any, just sharing your story will be like gold to anyone that's about to go and take a test or has already done a test. He just wants a bit of reassurance that it's not as scary as a lot of people think it will be. So so let's just start with your journey.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hand over to you. So what made you want to become a driving instructor?
Well, going back a few years, my daughter was a learner, and she had a local driving instructor, and then in between her lessons I would take her out in the car, and actually I really enjoyed it. But a couple of years had passed, and then somebody else needed some help, so I took them out in the car as well. And they said to me, actually, I think you'd be really good as a driving instructor. And about 48 hours later, I was making a couple of phone calls.
Right.
I decided within 48 hours, yeah, actually, I'm going to do this now. You know, a few years passed since I'd last thought about it.
You'd had to go teaching your daughter, and someone said you'd be good at this, so you thought, right, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
A bit like that, actually. And then I didn't even really research or anything. I just thought, oh, well, if I'm going to do it, I'll just do it really quickly. So I just looked for intensive training. So I think there was 3 companies that sort of cropped up, one of which was significantly cheaper than the others. So I thought, brilliant, I know. I'll go with the cheaper one. Oh, that was just such a bad idea. However, I didn't know that at the time. Anyway, I paid the money, signed up. They said to me that the likelihood is it will take about 3 months to complete and you'll be done out on the road. Brilliant. 3 months, lovely. A little bit longer than I expected.
Oh, you wanted it in 3 days?
Yeah, for maybe a month or so, I'll be done and dusted. How naive was I? So, yeah, so I signed up. Anyway, of course, I didn't realise that we then have to, because as I said, I didn't actually do any research. I didn't realise we had to book and do all these exams like normal learners do. Anyway, I got all this information came through, and the app that you practice ready for your theory. And then they said, and then you just book it when you're ready. Oh, I booked that, do I? Okay. So I went online and I booked. And then as I was booking that, I've read a little bit more online that, oh, okay, I've got to book all of these exams and it's not going to be quite as quick as I initially thought it would be. Anyway, I actually sat my theory test in February of last year, which I passed.
Yeah.
So I
Did that on the first go?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
I had to put a lot of hours in because when I first went on the app, I thought I'd be okay at the theory. And of course, you get these lines coming out going, no, fail, fail, fail.
So the national school that you were with give you like a bit of like you had some kind of online e-learning app thing.
Yeah,
help
very
you with
similar
part
to
one.
yours. Yeah, so that came through. So then I thought, okay, that's done. I'm just going to go ahead and book my part 2. There was a 4-month wait. So I didn't get to sit that until June. But in between then, I went up and did my 2-day intensive training for part 2.
So you're in Cromer, Norfolk.
I'm in Cromer, and I had to travel 6 hours north to go and do my training. I can't remember the name of the place. But,
yeah, probably not best to say that because that would probably give away the school. We don't want to mention schools. So
no, so I had to travel for 6 hours to go and stay away for a couple of days to do the training.
A couple of days.
2 days. Yeah,
so you're doing it intensively. So is this for your part 3 or your part 2 training?
Part 2 training, for the part 2 training. So you sort of, there was 2 of us in the car with the trainer. You go out, you do a bit of just a bit of general driving. He does an assessment as soon as you get in the car, and then sort of goes over your driving. And then at the end of the first day, I was given a sheet of paper saying that I'm unconsciously incompetent. That was his terminology, with which I probably thought, I don't know, I ought to just pack a bag and go home. However, I didn't. So I stuck it out and went in the second day. And by the end of the second day, I was consciously incompetent. And there we were. Home I went. Brilliant. Didn't know what I was doing. I came home.
You understand where them terms are coming from. You probably didn't mean that personally.
No, I know.
That's coming from.
Yeah, it's just the way it was worded. It makes you feel like, God, I shouldn't be on the roads, like incompetent and, things like that.
I guess that can land a little bit the wrong way. But yeah, it's coming from the stages of learning. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what they were saying is obviously I was unaware of the mistakes I was making. And then by the second day, at least I was aware of the mistakes I was making so that I could come home, practice, ready for my exam. So what I did, I came home and I did exactly that. And I practiced every single day. I went out every single night practicing, making sure I was rectifying any issues that I had. And then I had a lesson actually with Megan's old instructor. Right. And then I also got in touch with yourself. So I was looking at little videos to see if there was anything that would show me Norwich as an area, because that's where my test was going to be. Yeah. And you popped up. I hadn't seen any of your other videos or anything. I just thought you were a little, Lone Ranger, if you like. And I sent an email and said, is there any chance you could just do a mock test with me? I've got an exam coming up. If we could do it about 6 days before, so if you're not confident I'll get through, I can move my test date. So I came to meet you, and originally we were going to do a mock test, and then we thought actually it might be more beneficial just to have a bit of a lesson, really, see what I was doing when I was doing it, have a little look around the area, that sort of thing. And actually it went really well, like with yourself, and I sort of said to you at the end, should I move the test date? Do I need to practice a lot more? And you just went, no, have a bit of confidence, go for it. So I did. And I passed. So that was part 2 done.
So you've done 1 and 2, both on the first attempt?
Yes.
Brilliant. On a roll. And then you needed to do your part 3 training. Was that another trip up north? It was.
So but for 5 days this time. So I had to go away for 5 days.
Got it.
I'd obviously seen yourself, and it was quite different. You were just so warm and friendly. And then I was a bit nervous about then going back up to go and do the training, but I had paid for it and thought, well, I've got to complete it if I still want to train and become a driving instructor. So I did. But when I finished the 5 days, I was obviously signed off to say that I was ready to go out and start teaching. And I didn't feel anywhere near close to being ready to take a student out in the car. I just wouldn't have been safe to take somebody else out in the car. Before I even left to come home, I actually phoned Sam in the office and said, do you think Howard would be able to sort of help at all? Because I feel absolutely lost. I don't know what I'm doing. And he really helped me on my part too. Is there any way, do you think you'd be able to squeeze me in to get some extra training in? And she said, yeah, I'll get him to call you. So I was able to do the journey home, which actually ended up taking 9 hours to get home on a Friday. But thankfully, that was a bit of peace of mind that I could then at least...
9 hours? Bloody hell.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Oh, honestly, it was ridiculous. I just got in standstill the first 10 miles.
9 hours.
Oh, I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted.
So you did a whole day intensive, a whole week intensive, a whole day on the Friday driving, instructing, and then a 9 hours.
Well, it wasn't a full day in the end. We only went out for 2 hours in the morning out of the day really, and then it was lunch, and then it was paperwork. So, but yes, it was still exhausting. Yes, absolutely.
And you were looking to take a training license. You've got in touch with me. Is that point that I gave you the access to my online Part 3 course?
No, well, you agreed to help me with some extra training at the Ready, and then when I came to meet you for that initial, couple of hours, I said to you, actually, I'm really, really not happy where I am. Is there any possible way you would consider taking me rather than before I go and get my license signed off with the other company? And yeah, you agreed to that. So that was the changing point for me. And at that point, sort of, you said to me you'd need to complete the online training, the DIT kit that you offer to everybody. And that's what I did. So I took it home and spent a week going through that, completing all the questionnaires, making sure I printed every part of that I could possibly print, practicing and doing it. And what a difference that made to my understanding, because I had really very minimal understanding when I'd left sort of North to come home. Right. And I went through your training kit and I was like, oh, right, this now starts to make sense.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And then obviously, I started having sessions with you from week to week or every other week. I can't really remember, to be honest.
To fill in the gaps of the bits you didn't quite feel confident with.
Yes.
That you didn't get out of the course, the intensive course. We filled in the gaps, got you ready, went out on a training license.
Yes.
With ourselves.
Which I was quite nervous about.
Yeah, everyone is. Everyone's like, how would it go? So from starting your trainee license, when did you how long into the trainee license did you take your first Part 3?
I actually took it after 5 months.
Brilliant.
So my thought process was, if we are allowed to apply for a second license, it makes sense to use as much of that as possible to the first test, but leave enough time to apply for the second license.
Yeah.
If it didn't go to plan.
As long as you complete your 20 additional training hours within the first 12 weeks.
Which I did, and sent the paperwork off.
Then, I'm going to say it's at the DVSA's discretion whether you get a second. They don't have to give you one. But in my experience, if you do them 20 hours and you send that form off, you apply, you get. You never had to find that out though, did you?
I didn't.
You didn't need it.
No.
It's okay. So you took your first attempt after 5 months.
Yeah.
I always advise that. Get as much practice as you can before you take that test. So 5 months is a good that really helps people from, if you do it after 3 months, the difference between the extra 2 months is like passing first time. So that's why I sort of
The difference I noticed came in after 4 months. So I was quite poorly, as you know, with shingles. But at that point, I'd come out on a session with yourself and I had a student with me, and it just didn't go brilliantly. And then I was ill, and yeah, it just kind of, do you know what? Whilst I was at home poorly, I was watching, learning, reading, as I had been the entire time anyway.
Yeah.
But it kind of started to make more sense in my mind. But that was after the 4 month mark. So in the last sort of 4 weeks, it kind of started to fit together a little bit better in my
Brilliant.
mind.
So how many times did I come out with you actually watching you deliver lessons during that? Because I know with the shingles, that had definitely affected 2 of those sessions.
It did. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see you after the really naff session. It was an absolute disaster on the day. But that was me and my nerves, and I just went to pieces.
It wasn't a disaster. It's just areas where you could improve. And you obviously went away.
Needed a lot of
Oh,
improvement from that day, I can tell you. Anyway, it seemed to fall into place after that. However, up until then, obviously, there had been, I'd obviously come out with a few students, and on obviously one occasion, we had to flip that up a little bit sharp because my test date came through, the nerves went through the roof, and I was like, actually, Howard, I can't teach. You're going to have to take over. And yeah, kind of put you and the student on the spot, but you both managed brilliantly. So yeah, I just wasn't.
I quite enjoyed it, to be fair, having a go, teaching your pupil. It's good fun. So should we talk about the day, your test? Like, talk to me about your pupil selection, and did you have any problems with that?
Yes, well, I had a couple of students lined up because I thought, well, if one doesn't pan out, at least I've got another one. Unfortunately, yeah, both of them didn't pan out ready for the day, and we were just like a few days off, about a week actually.
And they were part trained. Would you say they were like in their developmental stages? So
one was 18 hours in, and one was, I think it was 21 hours in, because of we have to do sort of 3 hours on some of the sessions from where I live to come into
you live a long way away.
Norwich, yeah. So so unfortunately neither of those panned out. So my daughter very kindly stepped in to help out at the last minute, really. I had originally thought, I mean, when I first started, I thought, oh, perfect, I'll take my daughter anyway, because I know she'll be reliable on the day.
Yeah.
But then as you go along, as you sort of mentioned, actually much of your teaching isn't around a full license holder. So if you can take somebody who you're used to teaching and those skills that are used to, it's probably better to do that if you can.
So you took Megan, who is full license holder, and how long has she been driving?
So she's been coming up for 4 years, but she has had a break of a year. She didn't have a car for a year. Right. So she's been back driving about 6 months. Got it. But had developed a fear, if you like, of turning right at a roundabout. So yeah, she would travel for extra 20 minutes or so, maybe even half an hour, to then come back on herself so that she could then go left at the same roundabout. So she'd just go ahead at a roundabout and turning right, keep going, then turn around, come back. It might take her half an hour. She can just turn left.
Why don't you go that way? I can't turn right at a roundabout. Okay.
No, bless her.
Okay, so the night before your test, because this was a bit last minute, wasn't it? Your daughter
was really
stepping in as your third choice pupil.
Yep.
And then we'd had a chat the night before because you was a little bit worried about.
I was a little.
You explained to me that Megan, your daughter, struggled with roundabouts, turning right, and that you also had a question about her mirrors aren't very good because you'd had a little sneaky peek. You'd gone out with a drive-in and you kind of kept quiet and so you could just observe. And you were saying to me, well, she doesn't check mirrors and she coasts a lot, wasn't it? And I remember you asking me, what do you do? Do you do that lesson, the mirrors and the coasting, or do you do this turning right around about? So can you recall sort of the conversation and
I
what,
do recall the
what my advice
conversation.
was?
Your advice was obviously start your lesson. Obviously, you've got an idea of what might happen on the day as to what you might have to deal with in the moment. And if anything else comes up, so you end up with the mirrors, the coasting, the turning right, I don't know, any other issues that might crop up and you feel like you're fighting a million different fires.
That's it. Yeah, I remember saying to you, because you were saying, do I do the mirrors? And I said, you know, I'd keep that up your sleeve.
Yeah, you
Mirrors
did
and
say that.
coasting. And I said, is she likely to do that? And you went 100%, 100%. She's going to be bad at mirrors. She's shocking, he said. So it was like, well, talk me
Out
through
loud.
about the roundabouts, wasn't it? You're going to go and do these roundabouts because that's what she wanted to do. That's where she felt the need was. And then you had a couple of aces up your sleeve that you could watch her, and if she messed up with mirrors or started coasting, then you would sort of have a way to adapt and talk about those. And so I remember that from our conversation. And then you went and did the test. So now it's the day of your test. So yeah, just sort of, you know, in your own words, just
Well, you had said to me
the
the
day
night
of your
before.
test, what happened?
Well, I had had a good sleep. I couldn't eat. You had said to me, if there's some advice I can give you, is get a good sleep, drink plenty, and have something to eat in the morning when you get up.
Yeah, be
So
hydrated.
I did get some sleep. I did manage to drink plenty, but I couldn't eat. I was feeling sick as a dog. In fact, yeah, I was like a pressure cooker waiting to go off, if I'm honest. The nerves, the adrenaline, I was struggling to control it. We got to the test centre. I was in and out of the test centre. I needed air. Then I'd come back in. He still wasn't out. He was about 6-7 minutes late coming out. I was in and out like a yo-yo. And then I was struggling just maintaining those
Then you had a
nerves.
bit of drama with the L plates.
Are we allowed to say that on telly?
Well, just have. Yeah, no share because people would think, oh my God, like I wouldn't have thought of that. So
yeah, okay. So with the full license holder, I hadn't realised that you're not allowed to display L plates. So if you have signs on your car, like I do, that can't come off, you need to get blank sort of L plates, if you like, to cover them for a full license holder. But the examiner kindly let me off. But I have to say, first of all, so I was in and out of the room, like just, you know, like you are. And then he came out, and I had built this up to be like he was going to be quite stern. It was going to be very serious, very uncomfortable. And he came out, and the first thing he said is, "Hi, Philippa, how are you doing?" And I said, "Do you want an honest answer?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Terrible. I'm struggling. My mouth's gone dry. My heart's racing, and I'm struggling to contain it. I don't do very well in exam conditions." And he said, "I'll let you into a secret." He said, "Neither do I." He said, "I still remember my test date." He said, "But honestly," he said, "we're just going to go. I'm just going to watch for a bit, and then we'll be back." He said, "The time will go before you know it." And then we just got chatting a little bit. And then we got outside. Then he saw that I still had the L plates on. And he said, "I'm just going to get in the car, and we're not going to talk about those anymore." And he kind of just let it go, like, which I was, yeah, very, very thankful for, because he could have just said, "I'm really sorry, but you can't go ahead with your test." And I'm guessing a lot of people, that would be the situation.
if anyone's worried about that watching this, you can just get some black electrical tape and put an X on your L's if they're non-removable L plates. So so if you got that,
okay.
just you can just put a black X on them without, you don't have to take them off. But yeah, we didn't talk about that. So that's on me, that is, because you know, you told me you were taking a full license holder, and that completely missed it. Yeah, I'm aware of that rule, but yeah, we were so busy talking about that and overlooked it. So there you go. We all make mistakes, and but you know, you got a good examiner there. So the test continued, and so yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's right. So yeah, so we sort of got in the car, and I sat down, and I sort of, you know, I thanked Megan obviously, and just asked her how she was feeling with the examiner now sitting in the back of the car. And she went from kind of relaxed to tense And you could just feel her fear, and it transpired she thought if she made any mistakes, he would take her license away. And yeah, it just put her on edge, I guess, in terms of her driving as well. Anyway, so I did all, beginning bit, and shared responsibility. We spoke briefly about what she wanted to do, if she still wanted to work on turning right at a roundabout. And anyway, we went to go, and I had to stop. Obviously, we hadn't checked we hadn't done a 6-point check. Sorry, yeah, go on.
Just to step back, that little bit at the beginning.
Yes.
What did he say at the end about your little bit at the beginning?
Oh, we don't need to cover that
in your little summary.
Why are you bringing that up? You don't need to say
because
that.
It's relevant. Just people want to hear. What was this speech?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, I remember. He said, you said, you said, I babbled at the front at the beginning. I was all, rah, and he said, hang on a minute. He said, what do you mean? He said, that was exactly what you should be doing. He said, your brief or recap, where he said your questions were very client-centered. You were probing, you were checking, understanding, you were digging deep. And he said, that's exactly how you should do it. It was short, to the point. He said you could not have improved on that at all. He said that was like grade A there, perfect. And then the suggestion was made that maybe other PDIs could come and see how you do that, because you're the one who know how to do that. That's like, he's like, you can't get it better, you can't improve on that. That was exactly how you do it. So so any PDIs in our little clan that wants to jump in the back of the car with Pippa, I don't know, I should ask you actually. You did say yes on the day. Do you want to do it? Have someone come and shadow you?
Saying, Howard, don't get any ideas.
Let me ask you another question. When you were training when you were a PDI, did you go out with any ADIs?
Gosh, yes, I did. Now, it was only one actually, and that was Pete Marsden. And do you know what? He allowed me, I went out to watch him. He gave up his time to come and watch one of my lessons. He actually allowed me, I've watched him again sort of after I've been poorly. He spent 4 hours, because I had a mental block about Q&A. Absolute mental block. I was like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And he spent 4 hours. He said, it's like you're getting embarrassed. He said, I'm not going to let you go home until we have practiced this and broken it. And he did that with me for 4 hours. And I know. And then he also took me out just to have a look at the area, because I knew certain parts of it, but I hadn't really joined the dots as to where each sort of element was, if you want, depending on what I needed to do on the day, because this was before I knew, obviously, with Megan. Yeah, honestly, I can't thank him enough. And I would say if there is any opportunity for a PDI to buddy up with an ADI, that is gold.
That is, isn't it? Don't do this on your own. You need to see other people, see how they do it, get a good variety, I would suggest, because you'll see everyone does this differently, and you can pick up on the good bits you like and maybe just not do the bits you didn't like, and then cobble together your way of doing it, the best bits you like.
And the other thing I did was to chat, actually, Kevin George, another PDI, and we would just chat about how we were feeling, because we're both in the same boat. And that helps as well. So if you could, if any sort of PDIs can just have another PDI just to talk through how they're feeling, their experiences. You sort of, some days you come home, you think, oh my God, I think I've really over instructed today. And then you can talk it through with somebody who knows what you're talking about, rather than, anybody outside of it might go, no, don't be silly, you'll be fine, you're great, but actually they don't really understand. So if it's with somebody else who's also going through the same thing, it makes a huge difference.
Well, what we're going to do, Pippa, we've got the PDIs that I'm training at the moment. We're going to do a Zoom on Thursday night and get them all there so they can meet each other, buddy up, and get some ADIs in. So that will sort of facilitate that buddy network.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So anyway, so you did the test?
Yes, so I did the test.
Yeah, in your own words.
Okay, so Megan did say that she really wanted to come away sort of being more confident at turning right on a roundabout, because it would actually make a big difference. She's not going to avoid the roundabouts anymore if she can do that. So that was our plan. That was our goal. And
these are the big multi-lane roundabouts, are they?
no, just roundabouts, busy.
Any roundabout.
She struggles on any roundabout where it's got traffic. So anyway, so we went to leave. She hadn't done a 6-point check, so I just stopped her briefly, asked her where she should be looking, what we should be looking for. Anyway, we then moved on, and at the first roundabout, as you come out of the test centre, Megan didn't do any mirror checks on the approach or the exit or into the new road. So I asked her a couple of questions just as we were driving along the road. Do you know which mirrors we should be checking, what we're looking for, when we should be checking them? No. So what I chose to do was to have a recap on the use of mirrors, and we just pulled over into a lay-by. And at that point I had to alter the lesson because obviously to use of mirrors.
So just if I can jump in there at the end, Bradley at that time, the examiners jumped in because he said in your debrief, he said, I worried. He said, I did wonder whether you needed to pull up. And then he said, then when you did pull up, he said, then I got it, because she really didn't have the knowledge sitting behind the mirrors. And he said, yeah, that was a good decision to pull up and definitely to adapt the lesson plan. So at this point, the examiner's watching this thinking, what more could you do? This is grade A stuff. That was his words. He's thinking, yeah, this is straight away. You've asked some really good questions. You've spotted the fault, and you're probing, and you've pulled her up, and now you're going to adapt the lesson. He's thinking, brilliant. Don't know what you were thinking, because you thought you'd done badly, but we'll get to that.
My heart was racing. It had all gone. I just thought, oh gosh, I'm not even sure if I've covered everything I needed to cover. But we then agreed.
So you worked on the mirrors.
So we went out, worked on the mirrors.
At what point did you sort of pick up on the coasting problem? Was that soon after, or?
Yeah, about 6-7 minutes in. Right. Well, maybe not even that long. It was just probably about 4 roundabouts in. We'd done 4 roundabouts with mirrors, and I was prompting Megan, and then we'd sort of come onto Yarmouth Road and needed to give a bit more prompt. But then it felt like it was going wrong with the prompting. It felt like actually I needed to take it back a step for Megan, because the prompting, it just wasn't gelling. Like, she was already moving out before I'd given the prompt. Like, it was like, oh, hi, and so I was gone into panic stations at this point. Anyway, we then came to some traffic lights, and at that point I realised her foot was down on the clutch all the way up to the traffic lights. Just her foot went to the clutch before she put her foot onto the brake. And yes, I then needed to approach that, but obviously I was then in my head panicking, because I was thinking, shit, I can't say that, sorry. Yeah, so I was then thinking, oh God, I need to come back and give a little bit more instruction on the use of like mirrors, really. So then I pulled her over to talk about the mirrors, but then we had to pull over a little bit later to talk about the coasting. Then I forgot to ask one of the questions, which if I'd have asked would have been better. It was what Bradley said it would have been if I'd have just asked that one question alongside of the briefing, which was, why does she think she's coasting? And I forgot to ask it. I was really cross with myself when I came away. Anyway, and at this point I was then having a bit of a panic, and time had gone like super quick. By the time we'd pulled over and we were talking about the coasting, I think I literally had like 15 minutes left.
So you pulled over twice?
Yes, I did pull over twice, but Bradley did say probably, no probable. Megan's a full licence holder. You could have had that conversation on the go. Yeah. But in my mind, because Megan needed that little bit more help, I kind of reverted back to learner. Do you see what I mean? Because
and that's the problem. You do your training licence, the majority of everything you do is learners, and then a full licence holder is like a different kettle of fish, isn't it? So yeah, so that's why we say that. So you've gone back to sort of maybe over instructing her a little bit.
just a
fine.
smidge
You
by
can live
having
with it.
pulled over twice, but luckily I think that was okay. It was on the cusp probably.
So then you
And
got
then
to do the roundabouts with only limited time left.
yes, so then I was like, right, we're going to have to head up. I can't even remember the name of the roads, if I'm honest. I know where I went,
But yeah.
anyway, Megan, before we went to do a couple of the roundabouts, she said, oh, can I have a go at doing the mirrors for this? Like it was a double mini roundabout. Absolutely. Yep, you go for it. Then she didn't do them at all. so then we had to take back, I had to sort of have a bit more of the responsibility and go back to prompting. Then we hit the NDR. Absolute
Which is a
torrential rain, I might add.
roundabout dual carriageway thing, because people won't know what an NDR is.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah. So yeah, multi-lane roundabouts on.
You're going to busy, big 3-lane roundabouts, and it's always busy, hectic. So
yeah, and
which is a good place for a full license holder, yeah. Like
yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely.
It's so you've gone there.
Yes, but we had 3 roundabouts, and on all 3, Megan sort of came round the roundabout to the right and exited in the right-hand lane rather than the left. But this was probably down to me and I thought, well, she's a full license holder. I'm not going to pull her up on that. She's allowed to do that so long as she moves over. That's fine. But there wasn't anybody in the left-hand lane, so she just needed to come off in the left. And Bradley did sort of say at the end, if I'd have done that, obviously that would have bumped the score up. But I didn't mention it to her because that's my lack of knowledge experience.
Worth a mention. So one thing that is a good piece of advice is everything's worth mentioning. So if you think, oh, it's not really worthy, well, mention it, because she continues to do that, and that would have definitely scored you more points. Because he was talking, the feedback was like, you got the B, and he's talking about, well, this is how you're going to get the A, and that was probably the headline. If you'd done that, that would really boost.
That would have taken it.
Because so you got back.
So I got back in time, and I had about 4 minutes, I think, left to go to do the recap, summary at the end. And I got 1 sentence out, but I was convinced I had failed at this point. So I just asked Megan, okay, Megan, how do you feel today went? That was the first, just a, nice opening. And then I just went blank. And at this point, and I could feel the tears were coming. I needed to get out of the car. So I didn't actually finish off with the summary. I lost it. I absolutely lost it at this point. And my summary didn't score well, shall we say.
So let's say you got a 1 in the summary.
I did get a 1 for the summary, yes.
But at least getting 1 question out.
Yeah, I got 1 question. Oh God, and then that was it. I just went blank, and I was absolutely 100% certain that was an absolute fail. What a disaster.
So Bradley's gone into, after you had to let him out because the child locks her out, after you let him out, just a question. It was, we talked about the L plates and the full license holder, and we did talk about this, but we just need to mention that, as a full license holder, Megan has got a car. Would that be an option for her to take her car to your Part 3 test? And what did you learn about? What would you know about that? Could you take a full license holder to a Part 3 test?
I could have done if the car didn't have a warning light on, but the car had a warning light on, probably to say it's toxic inside the car.
Yeah,
she's so messy inside her car. I mean, wipe your feet on the way out. But aside of that, no, there was a warning light on.
If anyone's thinking, oh, why didn't she take her car? We did have the conversation. There's a warning light. The car was a tip. Megan was a last minute stand-in, so it's like, oh, we take your car then, because it would have needed a full valet, and it was the night before. And there was a warning light on. So even if you had
she will kill me. And when she sees this.
So yes,
so it's lovely and clean.
So
that car.
Megan,
Lovely.
Maybe give your car a little clean when you get. So okay, so Brad, the examiner's gone off to
Yes.
score it up. I'm waiting in the waiting room. He comes in and he says, "Oh, how are you here with Pippa?" I went, "Yes." And he said, "I'd go out if I were you." She's a little bit upset. So I went out.
Did
I
he?
beat
I didn't
him.
know that. I didn't know.
I said, "Oh, I'd take some tissues then." So
You were
he,
like, oh, she's crying. Tissue? Would you like one?
so I then met you crying. Your
Oh,
daughter
I know.
on the verge of tears. I'm thinking, oh, this is awkward. This like what went wrong? You were convinced, absolutely 100% convinced she'd failed. So
I
now,
was.
so now,
I was mortified. I was
15 minutes
embarrassed.
later, Bradley's called us in. We've gone into his little office to get the result, and as we know, it was a pass. And yeah, what did he tried to warn you, didn't he? He said, not warn you. He tried to let you know that you didn't need to be crying. He said, like, "You've done all right. That was a good lesson." He said when he left the car. That was a good lesson.
No, what he said, no, he didn't. No, what he
Okay.
actually said was, it's not as bad as you think, which could mean you're only a couple of points off passing. So next time you'll get it. Don't worry. But for me, it wasn't.
Oh, you took that as a right. I understand.
That's how I had taken it. But yeah, he was still shocked, and I was still upset. And he did say, you know, how do you think you've done? I think.
Yeah.
I
So
think,
his
I can't remember. It's all a
feedback
bit
to
blurred.
you was,
He did say it was a good, solid lesson.
yeah, you said like you were convinced you'd failed, and he said, "Well, what was wrong with that lesson? You know, like what literally was wrong with it?" He said, "You were worried that you hadn't got to them roundabouts." He said, "But hang on a minute, what were you doing before there? Fixing mirrors. Did you need to do that?" Yeah, you did. Did you identify coasting as a fault? Yes. Did you identified it? You've adapted the lesson. You've helped her understand. So he's saying like, so learning has taken place. So he's asking those three questions. Was that the right lesson for Megan? Yes. She definitely needed mirrors. She needed to work on coasting and she needed to learn how to turn right. So yes, tick that box. Was it safe? Yeah. You got a good scoring risk. And did learning take place? Yeah, she's learned why to check your mirrors, the risks of not checking mirrors, when to check mirrors. She's understood about coasting, engine braking, and now she knows
And she
when
was,
to put the
she
clutch
was
down.
checking her mirrors when we came back. So the last 3 roundabouts coming into the test centre, she was then doing that independently without me having to prompt her.
So she's improved. You were concerned that it was a fail because you didn't get to do the roundabouts. You didn't get enough time to finish
the
it.
roundabouts, and I didn't get to go into like in depth with the coasting either because the mirrors were so apparent, and obviously at that point time was out. I was panicking, like, God, I haven't done everything I needed to do.
So basically, for you to get the grade A, your mirrors was fine, grade A stuff. The coasting, if you'd explored why is she doing that,
Yeah.
like why, if you explored that a little bit deep with the coasting, would have improved your score. And if you'd identified her fault with the exit in the roundabout in the right-hand lane and not moving over,
That bumped it up.
got that, he would have given you a grade A.
Yeah.
He calculated, he said that would have been a 44, 45, wouldn't he? So there you go. That was those little things. Can you remember any other feedback he gave you that I've not mentioned there?
He just said, try and have a little confidence in yourself.
Believe in yourself, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Which is what you've said quite regularly.
Yeah. Like with the part 2, you're going to cancel it. No, don't do that. But you did, when you had the chicken pox or shingles. And then we couldn't do the training because I haven't had chicken pox and that's related or whatever. So
yeah.
You couldn't do it. And but you were like, no, I'm going to do it. You weren't going to cancel. You felt no. Boy, was that the right decision, because now you got a green badge, and here we are talking about it, and now that big monkey weight off your shoulders gone, and you can now enjoy yourself.
I know, and do you know what? It took a
Well
full
done.
week after the test to kind of come down, because you're running on adrenaline and lack of sleep for 6 months or 5 months. Well, probably about a year really of worrying, but aside of that, yeah, and it did. I felt very flat, like that first week after, really odd. And then last Monday I went to work, I was like, actually, I love my job. I am loving life at the minute, and I feel back to normal, and I can just get on and do normal things again.
Brilliant. So
Yeah, it was good.
that's a good story. And anyone watching this, you know, if you're feeling like you're struggling, you know, I think everyone feels like that. I've not met anyone that thought, oh, this is really easy, I'm just going to nail this. But, you know, there's not many people, Pippa, that pass every test, part 1, 2, 3, on the first attempt. That's special, Ernest. So well done.
Thank you.
And thanks for choosing us to come and do your training.
Well, thank you for taking me.
And
I think that was the turning point, as I said.
When it works, it's good. So so there's a nice happy story, and yeah, and thank you for doing it.
Thank you very much.